discussed a lot about women in leadership, and there's still not as many women in leadership roles as there needs to be, far from it. Is it like 6% of CEOs in Australia
about
are women?
that, and very small proportion on boards, and it's just that sort of the C-suite, as they, the Americans call it, into that senior level. And in many cases, the women on boards are actually the same women, so they'll have 3 or 4 boards.
Right.
So the kind of changes that we should have seen in senior executive positions, government's a bit better, senior women, but nothing like the sort of, volumes that we'd hoped for. So I think we've still got a long way to go in terms of those senior positions. And I have to tell you, I'm a great advocate for quotas.
Yeah.
I just think time's up.
Yeah.
We've given people lots of chances. It now says you have to have, we should say you've got to have at least 25%. Therefore, you've got to find them, develop them, sponsor them, encourage them, trust them, and give them a run.
Right.
And I think, that's not going to happen under this government.
Right.
But it's certainly got to be considered because we just haven't made the gains we should have.
Having the career that you've had and being the leader that you are, a strong female leader, what are your tips and advice for other women, even maybe starting their own businesses or, just balancing getting where they want? Yeah, look,
I think there's a sort of a couple of things I often say to women. I think one is to kind of, first of all, do some thinking about what is it that kind of, you're really interested in doing. Something that is it's often this kind of thing that there's a quickening. Sometimes you hear or you do something and go, yeah, that's really great. So I think part of it is to figure out, what is it that you'd really want to spend your energy in and time. And so part of it is to kind of get a bit clear about what's the focus.
Yeah.
So for me, obviously it was policing, but then it became particular aspects of policing. And then, during the time I was running a region or running the police, we were very clear about what we were trying to do.
Right.
And so that people understood, what's the goals here? What are we actually, what's the sort of direction we're heading? And so I think that's the kind of first piece. Think about what it is. Take some time, talk to people. What really enthuses you is a big help to start with. I think the second part is you've got to, kind of do the work. And so what I mean by that, you've got to study, you've got to, achieve, you've got to learn, you've got to, if you want to run a business, you better figure out how to handle the money. Because 85% of small businesses crash in the first 12 months. Yeah. So go figure out what a business plan looks like. Go figure out, how much it's going to cost you to do things. So there's a piece of, and that really probably just doesn't apply to women, it applies to anybody really.
Yeah.
I think the third piece is look at your networks, look at people who are going to support you, give you advice. We're not good at networks as women, where we don't do the effort, we don't put the effort in that the blokes do.
Yeah.
And I think, nobody ever does things alone, so calling people up, asking, sending them emails and asking will they come and do interviews, you don't even know these people, but you do, and you go, okay, they'll help, or they'll come and be part of something. And so I think the networks are important. There's probably a sort of a piece particularly around women is that sort of partnerships, and working with people, learning from them. There's also, I suppose, a bit about looking at what your limits are, sort of what stops you and are they real? And we'll have so many sort of limits we put on ourselves, I couldn't possibly do that or whatever.
Which all comes from fear.
It does. Yeah. And that's kind of the piece, which is really you've got to figure out how to get over your... sometimes what stops women is there are things about themselves, and I think that's a piece about the fear, or they just can't imagine themselves in it, or what happens if I stuff it up.
Yeah.
And I think there's you've got to have a belief and a confidence that I think is a piece of that along the way. I think there's also that sense of systems that we're often dealing with, that those of us who are in a position to fix the systems need to fix the systems, and they're just the way interviews are conducted, they're the who gets a chance to have a go at a job. There's all of that I think needs to sort of support women wanting to achieve. And I suppose the last bit is just have a go.
Yeah. Because what's the worst thing that can happen?
Exactly. Yeah. What's the worst thing? And I think the other piece, if you're managing people, I don't think there nearly are enough good managers that we've ever had in our lives. And I've sort of conducted what I call the Christine Nixon survey, which is around how many good leaders and managers have people ever had, and the average is actually 2. And I must be up to 12,000 people I've asked.
Wow.
And I sort of then say, so what is it about that person? They said, well, you know, they cared about me, they encouraged me, they respected me, they got me to do things I never thought I could have done before. And so I also think, you know, one of the things about managing and is there's a kind of the leader's about, okay, where we're going and, you know, encouraging you to do it, but the managing's about the systems and processes that make that happen. And I think, you know, we've got to be good managers, and I think women are good managers. And when they stop behaving like the blokes and following dopey kind of management models, you know, the good management is, you know, what needs to be done, you know, helping the person achieve it, you know, and supporting them, you know, into that position, recognising that most of us turn up to work because we want to do a decent job.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I guess they're the kind of generalist things that I think help in what I've seen, you know, when people have been able to achieve.